Hey, welcome back to A Let's Find Out. I'm your host, Arnold, once again. And I want to thank everybody for tuning into my last episode with Natasha Kennedy. That was actually one of my best episodes, I think. I think I learned a lot. Hopefully y'all learned a lot too. And we had, what's it called again? I think it was called Skin and Health. It was called Skin and Health. If y'all tune in, y'all could listen to that actually on Google. We on a lot of stuff now. We on Google, Apple, YouTube, Spotify, and if you hit the subscribe button on all of those, you can get updates for all of those episodes. But today, since when we put this out, it'll be Wednesday, so it's actually Sunday. But by the time this goes out, we'll be in Black History Month, so that's what I kind of want to talk about. I want to get into who my favorite Black history people are. Some of my favorite icons of Black history are. And actually, we're going to talk about who some of my not so favorite, who are some of my not so favorite Black History Month people are. I don't want to jump straight into it as if I'm just going to bash people that's for Black history because they all did their part. I'm just not in favor of all the things that some people did, you know? So how I start this off is, first, I want to just talk about how I like February, actually, before I even get into that. February is like one of my favorite months because it's Black History Month. I don't think a lot of people know about a lot of the icons that are figures in Black history, you know? I think a lot of people just think that we have just the American figures, such as like Martin Luther King's and Rosa Parks's and stuff like that. But Black History Month is not just here. We have people like Mansa Musa, you know what I'm saying? Louis Farrakhan, even though he is kind of in America, but those things traced all the way back to things that we learned when we was in Africa. So those are some of my people that, it's others. We'll talk about that later. No, we'll get into that a little bit later. With Black History Month, what gets me with Black History Month, why we should get a little bit more. I'm not saying a different month, but I think we should get more towards it. Like, we should get more stuff than just us having a month and just discussing people, you know? I think we should get like a check or something all month. You don't think? No? Or like we should get our tax, like all month we shouldn't have to pay taxes for February. If they're not gonna give us like reparations, we should get our taxes off for the month of February. Wouldn't that be dope? I mean, you wouldn't get it because you're not Black, but we could get it, you know? Or you know what? You know what would be really dope? White people might not like that. But imagine if we got white slaves for the month of February.
Okay, now come on.
I'm just kidding, though.
You just lost followers.
I did. I wouldn't. We couldn't have white slaves anyway. Do you know how terrible that would be? Just imagine white people being slaves. They wouldn't last 2 days. Some of the white people I know, like, oh my God, it's so hot. It's hot and I'm sweating. And they wouldn't, you know how we call the slave owner, we call him massa. It'll really be master. I'm hot. Can we take a break? Master. They wouldn't like that shit at all. Like, but honestly, you know why I really think white people wouldn't make good slaves? Because could you imagine how scary, how terrifying an African slave owner would be with that voice? You know how aggressive people with African descent talk? You know how aggressive they talk?
You're going
could you just,
an example?
Like, could you just imagine that though? Like, okay, let me see. So like, you got a person that's a white person that's a slave and they complaining, and you have an African person. I don't even know if I can do an African accent. Let me see. You're like, oh my God, it's so hot. Can I get a break? And they're like, what is this? What is this break you talk about? Get back to work. It's like, huh? It's like, what is his name? You look at the papers like, Adim, get back to work. My name is Adam. will, Adam, get back to work. And then you had a real master come over there. Because, them, usually the people that watch the slaves, they just like slave hands. Them the people that used to whip the slaves. And then like the real master come over there like, hey, why is he not working? He said he hot. What is his name? Adim. Okay, let me stop if I get in trouble. That shit would be hilarious. They really need to make that skit or something, bro. That would be times 10 hilarious. And then, you know how white people are. They be arguing. Like, I don't want to be out here anymore. Like, like that just, man, let me just quit. Like, that would just be hilarious though. Like, cause I could just imagine having a person of African descent slave hand. That shit, just the temperament of their voice would terrify you. I mean, like my accent of doing an African accent is terrible, but you know what I mean. Mm-hmm. Like that would be times 10 terrifying. Like, oh man. Like, okay, so what I'll get into is like some of my discourse of Black History Month is how they push people on you and they don't tell you about other people. Like the main people that they talk about when we talk about Black history is the same people. Martin Luther King, and I appreciate Martin Luther King. I'll say that. Like, nothing beats a failure but a try. Even though I don't understand that saying, I understand it. You know what I'm saying? Like he tried. I just believe like his method was flawed. I think he should have did something different because one thing I didn't like was the teaching of just telling people nonviolent. It's not like we were attacking people as Black people, They were more so attacking us or thinking they can treat you like an animals. But his plan was if we could show them that we're nonviolent, they won't be violent to us per se. And I don't think that works for a group that doesn't like you anyway. Like say for instance, if you had I hate to make this comparison because as Black people, we're not dogs, but they treated you like an animal. But if a person owned a dog, you know what I'm saying, and you were to abuse that dog, you're not expecting that dog to do anything to you, to growl, bark, or bite, because you believe that dog is an animal. You have control or dominion over that dog, But if there was one day that you were to kick that dog and that dog was to bite the shit out you would think twice before you put your hands on that dog again. I mean, as Black people, we're not animals, but if you're going to treat me like an animal, I could show you who the real animal is, and I was always taught, don't let nobody put their hands on you. So in my eyes, I just looked at that like, y'all just gonna let them beat y'all up and think that that's a good idea, and I just didn't agree with that because I guess I was just raised different. And, my grandmother and them, they raised me like that. Like, and my grandmother and them were really into like the Black Panther movement and stuff like that. I didn't like the desegregation at that time. I don't think that was the right movement for us to make because we weren't stable in our community. Like when you tell people when the movement was, we should boycott the bus. That was a good idea, but instead of boycotting the bus to ride with a group of people that don't like you on the bus, I thought you boycott the bus and start your own bus line. That works better than going, oh, we should be able to sit in the front. I don't care about. I don't want to sit next to nobody that don't like me anyway. And why would I ride this bus when I know these people don't like me? Like, we want to drink out the same water fountain. For what? We could build our own water fountain. We build our water fountain. And when we were marching and doing all those things in Selma, I don't think we should have been going down there for the desegregation of the school. We should have been building our own schools and going down and making marches and talking to these people, these politicians, talking to them about changing the laws so that you can't come to our neighborhoods and burn things down. We still fighting for shit like that now. Like, you can't just abuse a person of color and get away with it. We should have made that. We could stay away, but you got to make sure that you stay away as well if you're going to come violently. And you should be held accountable if you're going to be violent. That should have been the movement. Like, we're going to build our own schools. We had plumbers. We had we got teachers. We had all people of all different kinds of backgrounds. We could have built schools, built water fountains, had bus drivers. Because in my eyes, if you go and you tell people we're not going to ride that bus, all right, now they changed the law to let you ride the bus. I'm an asshole. So I know what, as a bus driver and not liking, if I didn't like black people, you know what I'm going to tell people? Look, just so they don't got to ride on the front of the bus, if y'all all don't meet me at this bus stop, meet me on such and such street. I'll pick y'all up first. Y'all get all the front seats and all the seats. And then I'll go to the regular bus stops where it ain't going to be nothing. Then they ain't got no choice but to either ride in the back or stand up. Y'all already be picked up. That's what I would have did, and I wouldn't have blamed them. Because that's just what people who don't like you going to do. Like, it's not like these people were doing it to spite you. They were doing it because it was the rules. They don't like you. They think you subhuman already. So why are you bargaining with somebody that think you less than human? You know what I'm saying? Like, I didn't understand his method. Now, I appreciate him because he tried. He had a goal to do something, but I just think his method was flawed. If he would have tried to do something different, I believe we would be further ahead right now. Like, right now, we still trying to fight for the same things that he marched for. So if you would have fought for something different back then, and we had started our own things, we would have been further ahead. And now, then after we built some kind of currency within the country itself, then we could have fought for desegregation. Because then, if you do something to us, we hold some type of wealth within the country itself. Because then after we come together, we're not just going into jobs where people could treat you any kind of way. You see what happens when they do something to somebody who's Asian, because they know we're in debt to Asia. And you do something to people of Asian descent or Chinese descent, you fuck around and destroy America. They got a foothold. That's what we could have been. Then we could have fought for desegregation, and then it would have mattered right now. So we wouldn't even probably need Black Lives Matter right now, because they would hold themselves accountable because they know, like, we fucked up. But now they like, what they gonna do? Stop buying Jordans? We don't have a hold within the country itself. So that's why they feel like they can treat you any way they want, because I feel in that sense we don't have that. And instead of me just going on and going in on who I don't like, you know what I'm saying? I'll say I do like my favorite all time, my favorite icon from Black history is Malcolm X. I think just because I was raised in that way, and it's not just Malcolm X, but that's the one that I'm more in tune to, because it was like, we do things for ourselves, we build up our community, and people think that Malcolm X was like trying to attack white people, but that's not the case. It was just like, yo, he come here, he put his hands on you, you got every right as a man to put your hands back on him. You know what I'm saying? If they're coming here and they using guns, we can have our own guns. And that's why he used to go by the phrase, by any means necessary. It's because by any means necessary, you're going to reserve your life. And that doesn't even, that statement itself just don't go for Black people. That go for anybody of any color. As a man or a woman, you're going to preserve the life that's important to you by any means necessary. And that's just how I was raised. And when you look back at people that just used to be nonviolence, I mean, yes, I'm nonviolent. I'm not just coming out here to attack nobody. But if you hit me, I'm going to hit you back. To my eyes, that's just a bully. And I wasn't raised to be bullied. Like, it doesn't, like, your size don't fight for you is what the thing is. Like, you're a man at the end of the day. Okay, I got a story, right? I'll tell this story. My entire family probably tell you this story all the time. So when I was like, I want to say I was like 6 or 7. I was about 6 years old. I'm just say 6. My grandmother used to have a garden in her backyard, right? But my grandmother's garden was big, but not as big as Mr. Tom's garden that used to live next door. So Mr. Tom used to let me, I believe it was me, my brother, and a friend of ours. We used to work in Mr. Tom's garden for like $5 a day. And when I used to work over there, he would never really say anything to me, but I believe my brother had like just come over there to start helping. And my brother's older than me, and his friend was older than me. So Mr. Tom was trying to get some jokes off. You know what I'm saying? And he's talking to them. I'm standing over there minding my business. And he's like, hey, Junebug. He called me Junebug. And I'm like, first, I didn't know he was talking to me. I'm looking around like, who the fuck is he talking to? And then he said it again. He's like, hey, Junebug. So now I know, like, okay, he calling me Junebug. And I'm like, I addressed him like, you talking to me? He like, yeah, Junebug, come here for a second. I'm like, my name not Junebug. So he's like, your name, whatever I say it is. And I'm like, it ain't Junebug, my name Arnold. So he like, if you gonna catch an attitude, you can get out my yard. And I was like, all right, give me my money and I'll bounce. So he gave me, it was Friday. Exactly. It was either Friday or Saturday. He gave me my money. I go back. I walk in the door. I'm pissed off. My grandma's like, what's wrong with you? I tell her, I'm like, man, Mr. Tom over there, you keep calling me Junebug. And she like, oh, baby, that's just a name that old people from the South say. I'm like, I don't care what they say from the South. My name ain't Junebug. And if I tell you that my name not Junebug, don't call me that. She like, you got a point? And I'm like, and he kept calling me after I tell him not to call me that. So she calls him over there. I'm in the back room. I had initially let it go because I'm like, man, forget it. He gave my money. I'm cool. But while I'm sitting in the back room, I hear him talking shit. You know, he like, oh, he's just soft. Da 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 da. Going, I peek around the corner like, I know he did not just call me soft, bro. Okay, so I'm plotting in my head like, I'm gonna fuck this old man up. I'm gonna do something to him. So Monday comes around. We all get ready. We go to school. We getting ready to get on the bus to go to school. So I'm like in front of my grandma's house. My sister's like, all right, Arnold, come on. We walking to the bus. And I look, I see Mr. Tom. Trash is out in the front. His front yard, he got like mop handles and broomsticks and all this shit in this trash bucket in front of the crib. So I'm like, all right, Mika, y'all, I'll catch up with y'all in a second. My sister and they walk to the bus. I get the mop handles and shit, and I stuff them under all his doors in his house, and I just talk back to the bus stop. My sister's like, why you breathing so hard? I'm like, nothing, no reason. We get to school. My day is going smooth. It's going normal. They come to my class. They're like, Mr. Hemmings, you got a call down in the office. I get down to the office. My grandma on the phone like, Arnold, did you lock Mr. Tom in his house this morning? I laughed so hard on the phone. She like, so I'm like, Grandma, you kept calling me June, but she like, when you get home, I'm gonna beat your little ass. I'm like, but he was messing with me first. I got home. My grandma didn't whip me though. She just laughed because I kept telling her like I had to get him back. Like, you got me, I had to get you back. That was my whole premise. You know, like, and that's just how we was raised. Like, we didn't have, you know what I'm saying? We didn't have bullies. But I did end up getting a whooping. I want to say like a day later for fucking with Mr. Tom. Because I was throwing corn or something. Was it corn? Something. I was just chucking that shit over there on the top of his car just to be extra. You know what I'm saying? And then I got a whooping, but that's beside the point. But I was messing with him a lot. That was the only reason why I said, like, announced that I end up getting a whooping later. You know, but you know how your parents, well, I don't know if your parents did, but my grandma and them used to give you the choice, like, either you could stay in the house and stay in the room on punishment, or you can get a whooping and go outside. I always took the whooping because I'm not finna sit in the house. Like, man, give me the whooping. That shit only gonna last about 3 minutes tops before you tired. And then I'm gonna just bounce. I'm gonna go ahead and go outside and enjoy the rest of my day, you know? And that's basically like, that's what I did, you know? Get my whooping, but most times you get a whooping, you don't really want to go outside right away. So I usually go in the crib and I just like, I would watch like Dragon Ball Z or something like that for a minute, you know, just until I got everything cooled down and I was relaxed. And then I'll probably go outside and kick it for a minute. But yeah, that was just my story about how that's just how I roll with bullies, and that's just how I am for just the way I grew up. Like, you don't do nothing to me, I won't do nothing to you, and that's just how I feel. They should have been back then. Like, you don't just let nobody put their hands on you just because you're trying to act as if you're gonna prove a point, because that's not gonna prove a point to a person that don't like you. You know, I'm not trying to say you should be malicious first, but if somebody's doing something to do harm to you, you have every right to defend yourself, not just take a beating just because some man got y'all walking for miles and miles just because he think that that's the right movement. And then as soon as he changes his mind and figures out the fact that, oh shit, I think his quote was, I think I done led my people astray or something like that. They killed him, you know? So you should have been had the mindset, like, what would be best for us in the future? Not everybody. Now I know the right thing to do would be to be looking out for everybody, but everybody at that time's not hurting. We should have been looking out for what would have been best for us and our children in the future, not just taking whatever's trying to be like another group of people that don't like you, because now you take your children and y'all go to the same schools, but they don't teach our children the same way that they teach some of theirs. You know, we're having problems with people getting into jobs because they don't treat our people the same way they treat theirs. But you do have some, I'm not gonna say all of them, you know, because I know a lot of white folks that's cool, you know, and they don't really look at a person just because of their race. They look at you because of the character, or because, you know, they see potential, whether you black, white, Mexican, Asian, Chinese. I don't know whatever color you are, you know, but they just treat everybody the same way. But you do have some people that's bigots and they racist, you know, and you didn't put your people in a stronghold where they not going to treat you the same because you didn't build that. You didn't put that out there for it to be known. We didn't come out on equal footing. We tried to force our way into something that we shouldn't have been in at that time. So I didn't like at that time learning desegregation was not the best movement at that time, is how I feel, you know. But all in all, I think, you know, we coming along so far. Like, we have a lot of things that we need to work on, but I'll say we coming along somewhat. Like, we moving on up, coming down the line. And I think, Eric, you probably looking at me, you know, crazy, because I'm like, yeah, I used to watch Dragon Ball Z, even though I still watch that shit now. I'm a grown ass man. I love Dragon Ball Z. Yes, people, I like anime. That shit dope to me. But I'm not a weird anime person. You know, like the kind that was ninja running in the hallway. I'm not that. I'm not that type of anime fan. I just think that shit dope. I like karate movies, anime, Marvel, all that type of stuff. I'm not like awkward when it comes to watching anime. You know, like, and I grew up, I knew some awkward people. Like, okay, another story. I'm gonna have a thing and then it just goes story time whenever I come up and remember like one of these stories, right? So I was in like the 5th grade, and it was my homeboy named Sterling, you know, and Sterling he was a weirdo, you know, and I was going to Sandburg at the time. Like, and Sterling, he was a weird ass kid. He was one of them kids that used to sit at his desk and fight with his pencils and shit. You ever had kids at your school that used to be like that? Probably not. But okay, so Sterling, he was one of them kids. But the weird thing with Sterling is he didn't just do it silently. He would make the sound effects with that shit, like psh, 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 and loud. And he used to sit right next to me. And he used to be super loud with it. And like one time while he was fighting with it, he make the noise like from Dragon Ball Z. He go comment. I'm like, hey, you watch Dragon Ball Z, bro? He like, yeah, I watch Dragon Ball Z. I'm like, oh, that's what's up. I like Dragon Ball Z too. He like, first he go, you want to fight with my he used to what he used to call the pens and pencils my action figures. He like, and you looking like, nah, I'm straight. I don't want to fight with that shit. But he like, oh, so what was his thing that he tried to do? Um, oh, so he tells me after a while, like me and him have been cool or whatever. He tells me after a while, he's like, hey, I got a glove at home that you could shoot fireballs from. And my stupid ass, I'm thinking he really got a glove at the crib that he could shoot fireballs from. So every time I see him, I'm like, hey, bro, what you bring the glove? He like, oh, nah, I forgot it. I think about a week go by, this nigga never brings the glove. So I'm like, man, look, I'm gonna have to stop fucking with you if you're gonna just be lying to me. And he like, I'm gonna bring it on Monday, right? So he comes to school. And he like, I got the glove today. I'm like, for real? He like, yeah, I got it. I'm like, all right, show me it after school. We get out the school. Tell me why this nigga pulled a regular ass uh cotton glove, like a winter glove. You know, like a regular cotton winter glove. And I'm like, man, I know damn well. He like, no. Put it on. I didn't know this though. I didn't know Sterling, he was like, his family was real Jehovah Witnesses, right? So he tells me, he like, put the glove on, and he like, just believe in your heart. He's like, just say, I believe in Jehovah. I swear to God, that's what they tell me. I'm like, so if I say that, I'm like, so if I say that, it's gonna work. He like, yeah, you just gotta believe in Jehovah, but you have to believe it in your heart. So I'm like, all right, cool, give me the glove. This nigga gives me the glove. So I'm handy, sitting there like, in my head, I'm like, Jehovah, believing in Jehovah. And I got my eyes closed. And he in the background like, it's sparking up. I see fire. I'm like, for real? And I peek my eyes up and I'm looking at the glove. I'm looking at him. He like, I see the fire. And I'm like, ain't no damn fire coming out this glove. So I take the glove off. I'm like, man, you a liar. You lying, that shit don't work. And then, so I want to, like, we had, like, our parents had to come to school, like, a couple of days later for something. I think it was parent-teacher conferences or something like that. But my mom and them never really came to that shit because I never tell them. But I'm sitting there in the class, right? I'm sitting at my desk, and Sterling's mom walks up to me, and she's like, is this the one that you said wanted to join our church? I'm like, join a church? He like, yeah, that's him. And I'm like, he like, you said it the other day. You said you believed in Jehovah. I'm like, I ain't say that shit. His mom was like, you got a foul mouth. And I'm like, you got a lying ass son, because I didn't say none of that. But that all sparked from me, like, that's the type of weird some people was for anime. You know, like, I know that a lot of it was way off, but I wasn't that type of weird for anime. Like, I just like watching the shows, and somebody tell you they got a glove that shoot fire. You like, hell yeah, I want to see it. He never had that fucking glove. And from that day on, I made the teacher, Miss White, that was my teacher's name. I made her switch my seat. Like, he too weird for me. Sit somebody else there next to him, because I can't be sitting next to Sterling no more, because he gonna piss me off. He making all this noise. And the crazy thing is, we go through all that, you know, and then we get back to regular school. This nigga act like that shit never happened. So, like, you sitting there, he's still making the psh, psh, psh. And I'm like, so you ain't gonna talk about that weird shit that you just did last week. You ain't even gonna say, my bad or nothing. You just think that that was just normal for you. But so I understand some people, when they look at you like, you watch anime? They probably went through some shit like that with somebody, and they like, people that watch anime some fucking weirdos. But everybody that watches anime aren't just completely far left with it. Some people just like it because they like it. Like, I will say, like, some women that are grown right now used to watch 16 and Pregnant. They didn't want to have babies, but they just thought it was interesting. Now, you did have some people that thought it was so interesting that they was 16 and end up being pregnant. You know? So you got your pros and your cons to watching what you want to watch, or being weird watching something and just enjoying it for what it is. That's what I'll say. I was to that. But what I will say is I don't know what where Sterling is right now. You know, he might be a lot different, and some people might. I don't want to just come down on bro like that. You know, and also rest in peace to Mr.Tom, man. He passed away actually a couple years ago. You know, he was older than my grandmother is, so Mr.Tom was actually older. You know, and I want to make sure I give them the respect they probably deserve right now because you know I will say like I ain't gonna go into Black History Month just cadding on somebody like that, making somebody the butt of my jokes because we supposed to be saying like Black Power, you know, staying in that frame of mind, you know. And I know some people listening to this is like, you can't say Black, but yeah, Black people we can say Black Power. The only reason, oh my bad, the only reason that white people can't say Black Power, you know, well, I'm gonna explain. Let me explain this before I go far into detail. You know, when Black people say Black Power, we're usually referring to doing great things in our community and uplifting in our community. It was never a bad thing to say. The only reason why there are some people that have a problem, well, everybody should have a problem until they change the narrative of white people saying white power. Because usually when you hear that, you know, it's usually at like a Klan rally, a lynching, or they finna go do some weird ass shit, or they just storm the Capitol, or some crazy shit like that, you know. So I think white people can change that by like doing something different, you know, if they change the narrative to white power, where it's not attacking somebody else, you know. Usually they doing something that's crazy and outlandish, and they say it, and that's why it has like a bad stigma to it. Nobody want like you can't say that. It's not just because we don't believe white people have a sense of themselves. It's because when you say it, you're not saying it to uplift just yourself. You're saying it to be a down somebody else. So if they changed it, you know, change the narrative of it, it'll take a long time for them to, but eventually they could, but it's going to take a very long time because they got a lot of people that's just far gone in the brain, you know. But I like this episode because I got to be, you know, a little bit so much as myself, you know. As y'all see, like sometimes, like I say, my personality is like I'm like shy, but I like to crack. Well, I crack some jokes, you know, and it makes some people laugh. And sometimes, like I don't even be joking. Like people just be thinking they're like, man, that is hilarious, and I be dead serious. Like, was that funny? Did I say something else funny? And they be like, people just gravitate to it. But I got to be a little bit of myself in this episode, so that's how we starting off Black History Month. Oh yeah, and I want to say happy birthday to Maddie. We went to her birthday, Madison Fry. In case y'all listening in, we went to her birthday today. That food was actually the shit was good. We didn't think it was gonna be good, but it was alright.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was decent. Um, so we gonna get out of here like we normally do, making sure we give our attention to our missing girls today. So today, do I got two or three?
No, we're two. Right here.
Oh, we starting with this one and then this one.
Yep.
Okay. So before we go, and I want to make sure before I say this, all the descriptions, if I don't get them correct or the names correct or who you can call correct, everything is tagged in the bottom. You know, so if you actually trying to help in this situation when we looking for missing girls, all the descriptions in which I'm about to give to find information on this stuff will be tagged in the bottom. So you can just go to the bottom and look at what's tagged and find our missing girls, and we'll have the numbers and stuff tagged. But right now, I'm gonna give y'all our first name is it Layla? I think it's Layla Weaver. Layla Weaver. Last time that she was seen was January 8th of 2022. She's 11 years old. She's from Chicago, Illinois. She's a black girl. She stands about 5'8". Man, she was tall for 11. She weighed 170 pounds, brown skin, black hair, brown eyes. If you have any information, you can contact the Chicago Police Department at 312-746-8251. or they actually give a description, the circumstance of disappearance. Layla was last seen on West Florney St. Street near South. I mean, I can't even read that.
Washna?
Yeah, it's small. It's small on mine. Washington, in the Tri Taylor neighborhood. She was wearing a blue hooded jacket over an army fatigued one, a red shirt and jeans. She was carrying a purple furry back backpack, and her name again is Layla Weaver, missing since January 8th of this year, 2022, and we'll tag the numbers that you can call if you have any information on Layla. And we have another one. Is this one too?
Yep.
It doesn't give any information for
So
this one.
this is Christine Howard. She was last seen January 9th of 2022 from Clayton County, Georgia, Riverdale, Georgia. Christine contacted her mom via text and was advised that she was safe with a family member but refused any information. She's 16, brown eyes, black hair, 5'3", 100 pounds. She was last seen wearing a blue Nike hoodie with white lettering on the front, light blue jean pants, and a black backpack with Lady Raiders volleyball on it. If anyone has any whereabouts for Miss Christine Howard, you can contact the Clayton County Police Department at 770-477-3747.
1-800 The Lost also, right?
Yes.
You can still call that. But we're also going to tag that number in the bottom.
And we have pictures this time, so.
Oh, okay. That's good. So y'all can get all that information also. If I missed anything, you can find that in the captions at the bottom. And I will say, like, every time, like, we're looking for missing, it's so many missing black and brown women. It's crazy that I can come up with so many in that short period of time.
Yeah, we've had 2 new girls each episode.
With more that we haven't had the time to even say, like, but we try to get the most current, and which it's crazy to say, it don't seem like we won't be able to find any that we should be able to help. But okay, if y'all have any information, please call those numbers or contact somebody that you know who could help us find these girls so we can bring them home or come to bring them some type of justice for them being lost or missing, however we phrase that. So we're going to get out of here on that note. And this has been another episode of Let's Find Out. So, let's find out.
Since nobody wanna